But as far as I'm concerned, I'm just one more struggling supervisor here at the International School tomorrow. Anyway, so here we go. And we'll see where this ride takes us today, okay? So originally in my consultation with Mr. Len, right, I thought the working title and the topic of my presentation was going to be how to make your bed in the morning. How to make your bed. You know, it's based on a viral video that if you get up in the morning, you make up your bed, you've already accomplished something during the day, and then you're going to go out and be successful in everything that you do, you know, blah, 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 blah. So, but then I saw the schedule there on, and it's this a bit nebulous topic, goal setting, how to reach the objective. That sounds quite exciting, doesn't it? Well, so, anyway, but I feel kind of bad. I'm not the best at putting PowerPoint slides together, and I worked really hard on getting the Make Your Bed thing going. So could I just quickly, if I have enough time, can I just quickly run through the slides I designed for the Make Your Bed presentation real quick? Just a little preview. So here's my title slide. Title is very creatively titled, Make Your Bed. And I love that font, don't you? Isn't that beautiful? That's really great. I'm so happy I found that. But then also, and then that took a lot of work. And then I didn't tell my beautiful wife about this, but it's my beautiful wife over here. Meet you, raise your hand, meet you. But I wanted to show a picture of our bedroom. And you know, as an example about how good life can be and how successful you can be if your bed is properly made and your bedroom is organized. So here it goes. Next slide. Here's our lovely bedroom. So you can see we've got off to a great start. And Mr. Len, now you can tell from this why Michu is late for devotions every morning. Because imagine, just to put out those candles takes a good 10 minutes, you know, right there. Just to get that done. Anyway, okay, well, now I'm going to beat around the bush a bit. So now we're back to our title for the day, goal setting, how to reach the, here it comes, objective. And I love that font also. Okay, all right, so, you know, it's funny, yesterday, my monitor, beautiful Miss Irene over here, Mrs. Irene, she asked me, so, wow, what is your speech going to be about? You know, and I thought, I don't know, girl, I'm with you. I can't wait to hear it too. She's like, I can't wait also. We'll see where this goes and see how it happens. So anyway, I feel we need something. So as an objective, this is my objective today, okay? And now don't get excited. This is an empty Krispy Kreme donut box. There's nothing in here, but this will be the objective, and then I guess I'll set it up over here because you know, as the title says, we need to reach for it, right? We need to reach up. So I'll put it up there for now, and then we'll see what happens with that objective as we go on. Now, seeing that this session is it's kind of a bit of a kickoff. It's just the second one here, and so we have our whole teachers convention ahead of us. So I thought, before we get into this, I thought we'd zoom back a little bit. And there's a couple of concepts I would love to encourage you with, and I think will make this conference that much more meaningful to you, and you know, help you enjoy it more and help you get more out of it. Okay. So if we can just leave our objective up there for a little minute. One concept I really want you to get today is to relax. Okay, not only relax, but I want you to be content. You know what the word content means? And content means, you know, to be happy with where God has you, with what He's given in your life so far. Because it's not automatic. You know, being content is not automatic. We're not naturally wired that way. It's something that we can learn. So look what Paul says here in Philippians 4:11. He says, I am not saying this because I am in need, because for I have learned to be content in any circumstance. You know, it's something that Paul learned. Paul the Apostle went through a lot of trials, so he learned how to be content. So I think one thing that will really help us today, if we can learn, if we can know that we are content with where we are in our life right now. So there's a couple of fun ways that I've learned to be content about material type things. So can I quickly run through those real quick and talk to you about those a little bit? Okay, so for example, I really like luxury cars. Anybody likes the luxury cars here? I love Ferraris and Bentleys and Rolls Royce and Porsche and all those things. Just fantastic, you know? Great vehicles. I'll never probably get to own one, right? Probably you won't either, but I do love them, right? Well, one time, it dawned on me. I was sitting behind the wheel of one. I think I went to an auto show or something like that, where, you know, we can go in and sit in the cars and enjoy it. And when I got in the vehicle, I think it was a BMW or something, and I sat behind the wheel, and I looked outside, I realized, you know, when I'm behind the wheel, I'm looking down the road, and I'm looking for traffic to my left and right, I'm looking for people walking, all of that. But you know, I can't really see the car. You know? So just an example here, I found a slide. Now most of these pictures are mine, but this particular one isn't. I found this slide. Here's what the view of Russian traffic, I guess, the Moscow traffic looks like. Let's say it's from a Lada, okay? Lada, not a great car. I have spent a lot of time behind the wheel of a Lada. Drove around all around Europe, but that would be another topic for another day. Lovely vehicle. Anyway, so like, here's the view from a Lada. Now, I want you to watch closely, and I'm going to give you the view from a Ferrari. You ready for this? Would you look at that? There's a view from a Ferrari. And then also, I have one more from a Bentley. It was a Bentley, beautiful car, a lot of them around here. And there's the view of Moscow traffic from a Bentley. So it's amazing when you're behind the wheel, I don't know, it seems kind of similar. Now, contrast that with the view that I get as the guy on the outside, waiting for the bus, waiting across the street, standing in the rain, whatever the case may be. Guess what? Look what I get to see. And this is my real picture here. That is a beautiful Ferrari 488 GTB. It cost about $250,000, $300,000 US. Just to change the brakes cost about $5,000, which is more than I make in many months. Okay? But look how beautiful it is. And check this one out. Look at this. This is a limited edition, oh, I can't see it, Cobra edition Bentley. There are only 6 of these. This is a special edition in Moscow, only in Moscow. Okay, there's only 6 of them in the world. And look, we get the view. They are absolutely beautiful works of art, right? You know, so when you think about it, you know, when you're on the outside, you can see this absolutely gorgeous car. When on the inside, all you can see is the road out there. So, to me, it's kind of like, you think about it, driving a nice luxury car is kind of like standing behind the Mona Lisa. Right? You can't even see it, right? So you just hand your favorite painting. So again, what a blessing we have. How blessed I am. How content I am to be able to see these wonderful things, you know, from the outside without having any responsibility. You know what, interesting, being in Moscow, I can look at these for a long time because they're stuck in traffic just like everyone else. And those big engines aren't doing them a bit of good. And I can sit there, in America, you see one coming down the highway going, you know, 120, 150 kilometers. Oh, look, there's a Bentley. But this one, I have all the time in the world, look as much as I want. Okay? So I'm very content in that. Okay, one more thing. Can we do one more thing? Okay. So if you like, let's just go to a place. Okay, let's just go to a little place to read this something I wrote out. So just close your eyes if you want, and come with me to a special place. It's a cool, drizzly morning in late fall. And you just arrived at your favorite spot. It's a quiet, cozy room whose warmth quickly envelops you as you remove your damp coat and scarf. And you pour yourself a fresh cup of coffee or tea and settle down on a little stool, and you might want to read a little. You might think a little, you might pray a little bit. And you glance outside the window and see that the light drizzle, which is just an afterthought of the rain the night before, continues to drip off the last few leaves that stubbornly cling to the lilac trees outside. Well, not long after this, a friend or two drop by, one bringing some homemade cookies. For the next few minutes, hearty greetings and laughter fill the air. Well, at the last, you finished your cup and you bid adieu to your friends, and you start your day. Now, doesn't that sound like a beautiful way to begin the day? Does that make you content? Is that like some cafe in Paris or something like that? But let me tell you something. that very thing happens every single morning in our teacher's lounge. Right over here. Okay, this is how we have a chance to start every single day of being able to enjoy the things that God has given us. It's right here, right now. Alright, so, I don't know, does it get any better than this? When you're enjoying a cup of coffee in a warm room and with your friends? Alright, what could be better? Alright, we could be content. Look at all the stuff that God has given us. Okay? Now, I'm not even going to talk about the 1-minute spa, as some of you remember. That's an advanced class that I sell tickets for. The 1-minute spa, there's an interesting stuff to tell you about that, but we won't even go there right now. So you know what does the Bible talk about stories like? Does this ever happen in the Bible? Sure it does. And there's a couple of examples. You know, what did Paul and Silas do in prison in Acts 16, 23 through 25? Anyone know the story? They were beaten severely. They were thrown into prison. The jailer commanded to guard them securely. As just reading here, receiving such orders, threw them in the inner cell, fastened their feet in stocks. Okay, and about midnight, what did they begin to do? They began praying. They began singing hymns to God. And it actually says that the rest of the prisoners were listening to them. You know, they were taking their situation, which was horrible, and they were singing praises to God. My goodness, they were doing, all the prisoners there, I think they were giving the first praise and worship concert, in history, right there in that jail cell. All right? And they were taking that situation and making it something totally different. I'm sure in their minds they weren't thinking about the stocks, they weren't thinking about the pain that they had. All right? They were content. All right, also Psalm 23:5. What does David do? This is a famous chapter. He's in the valley of the shadow of death. All right, what does he say in verse 5? He says, "You prepare a feast before me, a full banquet in plain sight of my enemies. You refresh my head with oil. My cup is completely full." So David imagines a full banquet. He can see, he can hear. His enemies are right there. And what does he envision? The Lord has set out a table for him, right? The banquet table. So he could be content, even in the valley of the shadow of death. Okay, so, I know things get frustrating at times. Sometimes we'll scream, why? To God, because of circumstances, trials will come up. But I encourage you just to put your trust in Him and learn, as Paul did, to be content. And this week we are so blessed to be here together because we're in a gathering full of like-minded people with our purpose, with our goal to train children in the way they should go, right? So being able to share that vision together, being able to spend these next 3 or 4 days together, even though we're tired, we just finished the first quarter, all those things happening, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So let's relax with each other, let's be content, and let's see what God can tell us through this conference, okay? Okay, so, I want you to be content, got it? But, I don't want you to be, let's see if it comes up here, satisfied. Be content, but not satisfied. Alright, what's the difference? You know, it is critical that we have a desire to keep developing, to keep growing, to keep challenging ourselves, to keep, I noticed the title of my next topic is Sharpening Your Axe, but I guess I could use that here. To keep sharpening our axe, which we'll see what that means as the next session is titled. Because we have to keep growing, right? I don't have to tell you technology keeps moving, blah, 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 new things are kind of happening every day, we need to get up to speed. So, be content with where you are? Great. But to be satisfied, like this is all I ever need to do? No. We need to challenge ourselves to go on and go more. Okay, so time for favorite quote time. Don't you love this types of sessions when you have the favorite quotes? Anyone know who Andy Grove is, the famous Hungarian businessman who took over Intel, the chip maker, Andy Grove, famous Hungarian. One of his famous quotes is, success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. And only the paranoid survive. Okay? And this guy led one of the biggest, tech companies in the world. Success breeds complacency, complacency breeds failure, and only the paranoid survive. So when you walk to your classroom, I can be paranoid, but it's a way to keep reminding yourself, and sometimes you gotta try new things. Also, Jeff Bezos. Anyone know who Jeff Bezos is? Founder of Amazon. Amazon.com. He is right now the richest man in the entire world right now. Do you know an interesting thing he always says? Mr. Lund, do you know this? He says, every day is day one at our company. Every day is day one. So last year at their annual shareholders meeting, someone asked him, hey, Jeff, what would day two look like at Amazon? What would day two look like? And here's what he said. He said, day two is stasis, just being still. Day two is stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by excruciating, painful decline, followed by death. And he says, so this is why it is always day one. Always day one. Interesting, when you walk in, being a long-time ACE / teacher, you can kind of get into a little bit of a rut, right? You're doing the same thing every day. It's like that movie Groundhog's Day. It's like you get up, the same thing happens over and over and over again, and you fall into this pattern, and next thing you know, the pattern becomes kind of a channel, and then it gets deeper, it becomes a whole ravine that you can't get out of. I mean, it's just the way you've done it, right? So but if you're walking every day, like, wow, what if today's the first day of school, I'm walking into the classroom with 26 kids, what am I going to do? What's going to happen today? And it's interesting, the mindset, the most successful companies in the world right now, they take every day as day one. Okay, and one more. Of course, this is my all-time favorite quote by a famous restaurateur. The guy's been very successful in making people happy. Never made any money, but definitely made people happy. So I think his quote is valid. So here we go. His famous quote is, "You're only as good as your last burger." And then his quote, you can see the small print there, that quote happens to come from me. I like to cook some, have my own little restaurant, and my specialty was burgers. I could make burgers really well, and I had clientele that would come in every day and ate a lot more than I ever would. But you know what? I thought about that. Every time I cooked or make something, you can have a good reputation and all of that, but you're only as good as your last burger. So I keep that in mind whenever I try and cook and do something. By the way, did I hear about cooking something this week? Really?
Today?
Okay, all right. Wait a minute, so that's interesting. We're going to talk about that later. All right, so yeah, but that's the way I look at whenever I do something. So I like here, I try and do as much as I can. Like I helped do Mr. Len's daughter's wedding, made some food for that, or done some going away parties and make that. But every time I do, I'm nervous because I want to fit. Okay, I feel like I cannot rest on any success or anything that anyone liked before. It all matters what I do right now. Okay, and how much, and usually I make something new every time. I don't even make the same thing over and over again. I make something new every time because I want to challenge myself. And what can I do that people will enjoy and like? Okay, all right. So then again, let's go back to the Word of God. What does the Bible say about challenging ourselves? Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed to this present world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may test and approve what is the will of God, what is good, well-pleasing, perfect." Wow, what a challenge that is, So may God's Word continue to inspire us as we learn more and more about Him, learn more and more about His world, learn about things here, so we can know what is good, what is well-pleasing, and what is perfect, and how we can do better. Okay, all right. Oh my goodness, my time is almost at 15 minutes. Oh, okay, all right, let's go on here. So, be content, but not satisfied. All right, let's go back to this objective over here. Let's try and actually approach the topic that we're supposed to do today for the thing, whatever that may be. Well, all right, to get to this objective, let's do this. I was told when I mentioned this topic a couple days ago, some of the staff, oh, it's really easy, you just set goals and boom, 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 you take steps and blah, 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 and next thing you know, you got the objective. I said, okay, all right, you're right. So let's let's put it in action. So we got our objective up there. I had this ladder brought in for our steps. How do you like these visuals, huh? All right. So there we go. There's our steps. There's our plan. There's our objective. Now, how do we get there? So, the steps we need to take, great. How do we climb them? Which one should we step on first? So how do we do it? So I want to leave you with this other concept that my classroom actually, we just touched on this at the end of last quarter. But we're going to try and implement it more fully in the next quarter. And it's what we call, or what is called, and it's called the focusing question. A focusing question. It's a question designed to ask yourself so you can focus in on steps you should take and what you should do to be able to get things done. So we need to think big. It's like what our objective is. You know what your objectives are. It again, depends on where you come from, what you're doing in your school, what your goal is going to be. It's that big goal up there. All right, so there it is. But it's up there. It's something that's got to be reached. It's something that's got to be striven for. But now, we need to go small. We need to go focus and ask this question. Okay? So here's the question. Let's go over it real quick. The question is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Okay, let's break down a little bit. What's the one thing I can do? Not two things, not three things. We need to come to a decision of what our priority is. Priority. I don't believe priority is a very good word as a plural word. Priorities. A priority is the number one thing that has to be done. So I don't know how there could be two priorities or three priorities. Priority is always number one. And then it's the first thing to do. So what's the one thing? It forces you to think, it forces you to do something specifically. Next part of it is, what's the one thing I can do? Something you are capable of doing, not could do, not should do, but what is it possible? What is possible for you to execute, for you to do right now? Okay, now there is the saying, there are no $1 million ideas. Ideas are just ideas. There are only $1 million executions. There's only things that you actually do, all right, that can be successful, not just ideas. Okay, the next part. Such that by doing it, what is the result of this action will take me closer to my goal. Okay, so when I make that, such that by doing it, when I make the decision to do this one thing, it gets me closer to my goal. Now, there's a Chinese proverb, right, that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step or something, correct? All right, but what if that one step is this way and not this way? If that one step is this way, next thing you know, you're going to end up 2,000 miles away from your objective, right? And back to all the time. So what's that? One thing I can do is such that by doing it, I'm getting closer to my goal. And what it does, such that by doing it, everything else, I didn't get the last part, everything else will be easier or even unnecessary. When I make my way over there and take that first step, then the next step is easier, and the next step is easier, and I can refocus to that. So that's the question. Sorry, I didn't that last part. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Okay, so 2 scenarios. Let's go to International School tomorrow, Learning Center. We have our one big objective up there. It's pretty well defined. Anyone tell me what that is? What's a one big objective? I heard that. Say it again. Honor roll. Honor roll. What a lovely objective, honor roll. And believe me, whenever we forget that objective, we have our lovely Miss Natalie, who never ceases to remind us of our one. There she is in the back. We love you. Okay, so let's say honor rolls are big objectives. Now how do we get there? So to kind of wrote this out. So we can ask our students, what's the one thing you can do to achieve honor roll, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Okay, well, what would the answer to that question? How about, to achieve honor roll, we need to finish a certain amount of paces, right? We need to finish X amount of paces. Okay, so we need to finish X amount of paces. Okay, so what's the one thing you can do to finish X amount of paces such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? Okay, well, I need to work in all my subjects to be able to get all that done. Great, so what's the one thing you can do to ensure that you work in all of your subjects such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? Right? And so, well, we have a plan for that. It's called setting our daily goals. We have a little goal chart. So I guess you could say, well, the one thing I can ensure all my work is done in my subjects, I need to set and complete my goals every day, right? Okay, let's ask it again. So what's the one thing you can do to make sure that your goals are completed every day? Well, I need to actually do my piece of work, right? I gotta do it. Okay? So, let's drill down to this final question now. So, what's the one piece you can do right now such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary? Now, in a lot of situations, the answer to that question would be, what's the one piece you read? My math.
Yeah.
Right? And there you go. Boom. You just made it on the first step, going in the right direction to achieve that objective, right? And now everything else, once that math is done, everything else can be easier or even unnecessary as we go up to the top. Okay, so we're really going to focus as a practical, we're really going to focus on this focusing question as we go about our day and use it to help us narrow down what's important to do right now, what we can do right now. Because you know, my goodness, kids, and especially the athletic ones, like my son, you know, he has great intentions to get that honor roll, but you know what he tries to do? He just tries to run and jump and grab it. All right? And a lot of the athletic ones do that, and the ones that aren't, they're more willing to go to take that step at a time and work it out with you, but they just want to run and jump, but they realize it doesn't work that way. We got to take those steps. We need to narrow it down. And even when it comes to daily goals, I see kids, they sit there with 5, 6 paces sitting in front of them, and then they're paralyzed. What do I do now? I know I can start this, I can start this. So we can use that. Again, I want to try and train my learning this quarter. We can use that to narrow down. Okay, let's get this done. And then when that's done, now we can get this done. And that's done, now we can get this one. And then our dominoes, will start to fall. Okay, so I want you to keep this in mind, as we go through this conference. Because, during these conference times, a lot of presentations, a lot of ideas, a lot of things, jotting down in your notebooks all the time. I'll tell you what happens to my notebooks after I do this. They go in my folder. When I get home, the folder goes on the shelf. And what happens to it? Just kind of disappears. Right? So can we, first of all, think big. In this conference next few days, what is a big idea? What big objective can we find in the different presentations we're going to hear? What big idea can we take? Can we think, you know what, this might really work in our learning centers, might really work in our schools, might really work to help us develop. So get that big idea, get that objective, and then ask yourself, maybe something you analyze afterwards, what's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, we can achieve our objective, and everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And then actually grab it, right? Actually grab it and take it and run with it and actually have something that's useful and something that we can actually do. All right, so again, I'm sorry, our objective is empty, our Krispy Kreme box. But you know what, as Irene, did Ethan get back by any chance? Was here? Okay, actually, I'll consider that we did achieve the objective today. So they're actually going to bring in, we have a box of Krispy Kreme donuts for your table going to be around. So come on in right now and just distribute those. Come on in. Yeah, let's get the runway. Yeah, just come in right now.
Oh! Seriously?
Yeah. So.
Oh!
Okay, sorry.
That's a nice one.
One per table. One per table, yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. So let's sit there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Actually, this is excellent. I love it. I love it when it is concise, inspirational, practical, and also leaves you content but not satisfied because lunch is coming up. This is really a wonderful thing that you will hope you will remember. Something's already going on there. The truth is, I totally agree that what Mr. Jordan just finished with, that in every healthy and in every successful situation, we need to find a so-called simple solution. And in Russia we have this expression that sounds like simplicity is akin to genius, and so on and so forth. But really, all good things and all good decisions are usually very simple. And Jim Collins, just to piggyback with Mr. Jordan on what you've been saying, in his book, Good to Great, is saying that if you want to find this simple solution, it doesn't take just one brainstorming session. Usually companies come up with a good solution spending up to half a year figuring out how it can be done. And only after that, they just implement it, and then each day becomes day one. Because you cannot really, the moment we'll kind of continue this and kind of echoing the same idea that we are not the same every day. We're either getting better or getting worse. That's why day one is very important. So enjoy donuts and have a break, and you're welcome also to partake of some tea. Thank you, God bless you. And we'll be getting ready. And Mrs. Julie Benedict, she'll be the next one to present